Hey, Dylan here with the Boardroom Buzz. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for spending some of your holiday time with us today. We've got a really fun year-end recap episode. I'm getting ready to roll, but I gotta let you know something. Right when Patrick and I got back from San Juan, where this was filmed, Renikill announced that it intends to acquire Terminix Global Holdings. So that will not be discussed in the year-end recap, but I want to let you know that we're going to return in January with a couple of special guests specifically on that deal, and you're not going to want to miss that. So from everyone here at the Verbel Studio, Aaron and myself, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon.
Hey.
I like it.
You might have to help me on this one. Paul, the last time I smoked a cigar was with you in Tampa, January?
Did you actually? I don't remember you smoking.
No, remember how lightheaded I got? And you were like checking on me?
Yeah, I remember that actually. Patrick, these cigars are aged 8 years.
And it's Cuban.
It is a Cuban cigar, yeah.
We're in Puerto Rico. You've invited me and Dylan's here actually behind the camera today.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a killer job. We made it to the end of 21 almost. This is our Christmas episode, right?
So our Christmas episode. So we're filming this a little earlier in December, but by the time this goes out, it should be right before Christmas. So this is our holiday spot. It's almost like holiday in July down here. So Patrick and I are here in Puerto Rico. We're on my balcony deck. Well, I don't know what you call it. How's your state?
Oh, it's wonderful. And I wish they could experience the weather here.
Yeah.
You could put this in a bottle and buy it. I sell this.
It's really the only thing that keeps me here is the weather's like this year round. It's fantastic. So Patrick, what do we have on tap today, my friend?
Well,
we'll do a little recap of 2021. We'll talk a little bit about 2022. But, you know, before we get into that, I mean, we are roughly 6 months into you being a quote-unquote rich redneck, as it were. So, you know, I know we met with Tika this week. We talked about crypto, but I mean,
yeah.
It's a question because everyone in your position, you know, people sell their businesses, they start other businesses, they have an investment portfolio. So, I mean, how are you starting to, I mean, what are you doing? How are you starting to learn this stuff?
I'm learning on the fly, definitely. Yeah, it was mid-August and figuring out what to do with it, and that's exploring some new opportunities. What accredited investor, all of a sudden you start getting emails and ads that you weren't expecting or haven't received in the past. So it's like what to do. Hopefully not make early mistakes. And so here I'm allowed to smoke as a deacon. If not, then I'm not a deacon any longer. But
you're not allowed to drink.
So what? I'm not allowed to drink. I was thinking about that. What investments? Real estate's interest me. You know, Bobby and I did some single house flipping before, and I don't remember if we talked about this on the Buzz or not, but there's, just for sake of not making mistakes, big mistakes, and for sake of time, there's like Realty Mogul, Crowd Street, or a couple where you put in minimum credit investor. You got $25,000, $35,000, put some money in. So I think I've done 3 on each platform. They're multifamily, which has interested me. I've thought about as I was selling multifamily pest control to multifamilies, like this is a really cool business, right? As far as for an investor standpoint. So dumped some of that. And when we were talking with Tika the other day, he said, he's got some multifamily on his part of the barbell and self-storage. And actually I had a self-storage deal on one of the platforms that just got closed and funded this week. So we'll see where it goes.
So you're just kind of dipping your toes into different things, and you're in a potash business, I guess, right?
Yeah, so Tika's recommended. So I follow Tika's, a couple of his newsletters, So yeah, Tika had to deal with potash. I think I was saying potash or potash, or I don't even know how to say it. But yeah, I said it. You're like, hey, that's not a bad. Like you're like, it goes in fertilizer. I was like, I didn't even know anything about it.
Yeah, it goes in fertilizer. That's true. Okay, so you're in some multifamily. You're in potash. You're getting into crypto now.
Got some crypto. I was looking at it. You know, when we recorded, it might have been 4% of my net worth, and today it's probably 3% of my net worth. And not.
Oh, you sold some.
No, just
Your
where
net
the
worth.
markets are today.
Your net worth has gone down.
The crypto went down.
Yeah.
So yes, my net worth went down. So maybe the percentage. I guess maybe I don't know if the percentage goes up or down. Whatever. But crypto's a little bit down today. But I when I put money in crypto, I've kind of earmarking it speculative to me. Like if it goes to zero, it goes to zero. And I was reassured to hear you and Tika have the similar thought, right? If it might be speculative, but you put 5% of your net worth in something. If it goes to pod, it was just 5%. But it was interesting. Like, so Tika's asking how much, what kind of multiples are there in pest control? And I believe I'm not allowed to say. I've yet to tell anyone how much the multiples were on bugs and Project Black Bear. But you were able to talk about it in broad sense.
That's right.
I think you almost knocked him out of his chair.
Yeah.
Like he was shocked.
He was shocked and astounded at what's going on in pest control. It's really crazy. I mean, we when we look at 2021, so it has just continued to ratchet up, and I guess I don't know if Q4 is realistically any more dear than Q3 per se. What is it today? December 9th. Okay. So December 9th, 2021, Q3 and Q4 have been ridiculous. And when we did the Supernova presentation in July, we talked about kind of the next 6 to 12 months and how everything from a monetary and fiscal policy was going to be extremely bullish from a tax or from a valuation perspective. And I think we're seeing that. It's been bullish for all sorts of risk assets. Obviously, question is how long is this going to run? But it was a great 2021. And, we're still here. We're on the 8th of December. So, Potomac will close 11 transactions. We just closed one this morning in Ireland. We'll close one tomorrow in New York. We'll close one Monday in Florida. We closed one on Tuesday, so 2 days ago, in Colorado. So it's pretty much like between now and the end of the year.
Texas one coming.
We got another Texas one coming. We're dealing with the purchase agreement tonight. So yeah, we got
two Texas deals and 3 Texas deals because you had Art. You did Art and sold their door-to-door branch at Houston, right?
That's right.
Like 3 Texas deals and it's not a very still. Not
it hasn't been an
traffic.
active state.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
we're working on it, right?
Working on it. Working on it.
Get it started.
For you, there's always been this situation where you've got different areas are hot at different times. And so, of course, we have the Eastern Corridor from Maine all the way down to Florida. With the Mid-Atlantic being the epicenter, super hot. And then it's moved around. And so, of course, the West Coast, we were just talking about, I was just actually having a chat with Kevin Burns this morning from Arrow. He was like, man, the West Coast has really been hot lately, and it has been. I think now it's Texas's time, actually. We're seeing a lot more activity in Texas than we had seen for years. Yeah. So Texas is becoming a hot place now, with South Central.
There you go.
Maybe Bugs kicked it off, Patrick.
I'll take credit for it.
Take it.
It was team effort.
Team effort. I'll take it. I like it.
But the multiples, and I know Supernova was a big thing, like big production. Dylan and his team killed it. That was back in June. Really talked about the bubble, and I know you said, hey, Black Bear, really think we sold at the top of the market, and no, you don't have a crystal ball, whatever. For us personally, the risk was too great. Like they seized the opportunity. I didn't want to be looking in the rearview mirror like coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Understood. Yeah.
Multiples though, like here at the end of the year, are they surprising you yet?
I don't know. Surprise me is a strong word, I guess, because I really am not surprised at anything anymore, really. I have been surprised in this industry for a long time. I think that it's going to remain extremely robust in the first quarter. I mean, we've got a lot of transactions that are rolling into next year. We've had some situations where the acquirers have slowed it down, so we've negotiated make-whole provisions in case taxes go up. You know, it rolls over into January.
Okay.
It's not our fault. It's the acquirer's fault. And if taxes go up, we want to get paid.
Oh.
So we've been able to be pretty successful with that. And
What is that called?
I call it a make-whole provision, where we know we're in an environment where taxes will likely go up.
Yeah.
And so my focus has been getting the acquirers on the hook. And so the acquirers have been bitching and moaning to me over the last couple of weeks, saying that I'm the only one asking for it. And so it
Doesn't make it wrong.
It doesn't make it wrong. It makes it super right in my mind. So we're getting make-whole provisions. We're in a position where I think Q1 will be particularly robust. And of course, you know, we just did the, Thompson Street Capital Partners is $1 billion fund.
Okay.
They got into pest control a couple of months ago,
Yeah.
and it's $1 billion fund, one of the largest. I think they are the second in size after EQT. You have Halley Capital down in South Carolina. Of course, you got Givlin's Imperial Capital up in Canada. But these are like $100, $200 million situations, whereas Thompson Street's a $1 billion player. They entered with Presto. We did it in Mid-Atlantic. They bought some business in Texas. Got a lot of other stuff going on. So I literally think that they will probably be at PCT top 20 in the next 6 months.
I didn't realize how big the fund was when you put them in comparison with what Certus Imperial Capital is doing, right?
Yeah.
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
So what did that
I think
do?
maybe it's $1.3 billion if I remember correctly.
What's
$1 billion.
what's the difference, right? But what is that? So they started getting in process, right? You've had a client sell to them. So what are the dynamics now with private equity?
Well, I think we'll start to see, as private equity continues to consolidate in this industry, and it's ramping up dramatically. No, I think 4 or 5 months ago, I said I wouldn't be surprised to see 5 or 6 new private equity entrants in this industry by the end of the year, and I think we're going to see that.
Wow.
We're almost at the end of the year now. And so we become less reliant on the publicly traded companies. I'm starting to watch, Rollins, I wrote my Rawl complex thesis, and, Rollins underpins the valuation in this industry.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start, we've always seen multiple expansion with Rollins.
Yeah.
We're starting to see multiple compression. Rollins is having problems. Just watch its price action in the market.
Yeah.
The real winners from an enterprise value perspective in this market have been the Europeans.
No. Why is that?
Rentokil and Anticimex. They've outperformed Rollins from a valuation perspective. They've outperformed Terminix.
Okay.
Why is that? I mean, I think there's a variety of reasons for that, but I think the European firms, I think the Brits and the Swedes have done a great job buying capabilities. I think Rollins has sat on the sidelines. I always thought they were kind of stale in the saddle, and I think that that's starting to happen. You've got aggressive players out there, not only the private equity firms, but Anticimex and Rentokil. I mean, look, I think we're entering a new era, and it's a shaky era because Rollins has always underpinned this market from a valuation perspective. We're going to see Rentokil continue to outperform, Anticimex continue to outperform, and then of course, I'm less concerned now with private equity effectively supporting the market.
Okay.
With these private equity guys supporting the market, I'm less concerned about Rollins.
Okay. Now, after Pest World happened, I called Tim just to see how he had fun and made sure he stayed out of trouble. I didn't have to come bail him out of Vegas jail. Mm-hmm. We did talk about at least Terminix and Rollins and the stock in 20 performed very well. Like
Who did?
Terminix and Rollins performed the pest control index. They performed very well in 20, right?
Yep.
And now his thesis, if you will, I don't know if you agree or disagree or comment on this, right? They did not perform compared to the S&P. Rollins and Terminix didn't perform as well in 21 as the S&P, or they've fallen off. That's
true. There was a rollover as there's been a rotation out of tech and long duration stocks into value. Rollins has rolled over. Terminix, I think there's a lot of uncertainty there. Brett's still new. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty surrounding Terminix, quite frankly.
Did they effectively overperform in 20, underperform in 21, just to kind of get
I
par?
just think it's one of those things where a lot of investors have been burned in Terminix, and they're taking a wait and see approach.
Okay.
I think Brett's got a lot of good ideas. I think he's a great guy. I think he's probably a very capable manager. I just think it's going to take time. Well, what did you think about Brett?
I enjoy the conversation. Very down to earth. I think it helps. It's not this ivory tower attitude, and I've heard that. I've not personally experienced. I've never met a Terminex CEO. Okay, for the record.
Yep.
That's the first one.
Yep.
I have heard they affect the culture like from the top down.
That's right.
And so previous Terminex CEOs were liked and some were less liked. I'm dancing around a direct answer here.
Yeah, some are douchebags that were hated, that screwed things up, and some of them not so bad. Yeah. I mean, right.
Yeah. So for him, while we were getting ready to record in Waco, just to visit with him for 10 or 15 minutes, just getting ready.
Mm-hmm.
Like I personally like him. Like I like him. I trust him. It was one thing, telltale sign. I don't know if we've talked about this, but getting to so that's the interesting thing. Terminex. Terminex does not have a bad reputation in Texas.
Yep.
Like it's another, like you wave or whatever. It's like I would hire for someone from Terminex, rewind, but I wouldn't hold it against someone Terminex. It wouldn't be necessarily easy to steal a customer from Terminex, but I've heard it on the East Coast. I've heard it on the West Coast. Terminex has a bad reputation.
Yep.
Now I've heard it, at least from the ground level, like, hey, the salespeople and the technicians on the West Coast with Terminex, they're happy. It's not the same churn. It's made it down to that street level already, which I was impressed.
Yeah.
So I think there's hope. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. What else you got for this Christmas episode, Patrick?
You've been an investment banker and pest control for almost 2 decades.
Correct.
I know your favorite deal was Black Bear. I give you props for that.
One of my least profitable transactions, but yes.
Appreciate you. Oh man, it's been a phenomenal year. I've learned a lot, and to you though, I know you're the constant learner. I've been in your part of your library is in your office. I know it's not your full library. You're a learner. Are there things you personally learned this year?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a variety of things that I don't so much. Sometimes in life, like something, but until you continue to experience it firsthand, it doesn't really become reality. And I guess what I mean by that is when, we look at this bubble in pest control, and you look at this bubble in a variety of assets, and like, I think about it in my own investing lifestyle, where even if things don't make sense, it doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah.
It matters what other people care about, right? It just matters. If I look at something and I say that's wildly mispriced, the market is wildly mispricing an asset, doesn't necessarily mean I should short it. It means it can continue to go up and up and up and up. And so I see that in pest control and a variety of different assets, and I'm constantly reminded that bubbles can go on a lot longer than you expect them to go on. And it's just really hard when a lot of this kind of stuff defies common sense.
Like crypto.
Like crypto, for example. But I mean, I'm trying to think about what else I learned. I mean, I always learn a ton of stuff. Patrick, it's hard to articulate a random question like that. I mean, what have you learned this year?
Personally, it's the first business I've sold.
Yep.
Right, Black Bear. All right, that you help sell and orchestrate and all that stuff. And to articulate it from before going through, it's one thing.
Yep.
And I could say, hey, here's the sequence of events. But actually having experienced it and gone through it, it's very much different, right? And the emotions that go through it, and even the emotions after the sale, which I still don't know how to articulate. It's been 4 months, right? And it's like, okay, now what? Now you said it earlier. Okay, now what do you do with your money? Like, I'm figuring it out still.
But I think for a lot of guys that exit their businesses, when you're running a pest control business and you're taking cash flow, you put some money in the bank, you buy a house, you might buy some rental properties, you invest in the market. There's pretty standard things a lot of guys do. But then, when you exit, and unfortunately, Black Bear wasn't a $150 million deal. I wish it were, Patrick, but I'm sorry it was not. But like, you know, you make 50 million, 100 million, 150 million, like how do you deploy that capital? And it is a stressful event for a lot of these guys. And I always tell them, like at the beginning of the process, you're going to get your check for $100 million. What are you going to do with that money? I'll figure it out when I get it. And then when they get it, it's very stressful.
Starting to sprinkle here in PR. What kind of answers do you get?
It's going to literally rain for 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Is there a plan? Do they have a plan? Do you say, hey, you don't have a plan, you need to get a plan? Or?
You know, I don't opine in the areas of love of money when it comes to investing it because I realize it's a very subjective, unique proposition. So it's hard to do that.
Do you find a lot of your previous clients get back into either pest control or another service industry?
Yeah, I feel like there's always an itch. You know, I wouldn't say a lot. I think the majority no. Actually, I can say with certainty the majority no.
Okay.
You have the folks that are retiring. Then you have the younger folks, and they tend to go into other things. I mean, there's an echo chamber in every industry. So, you know, our main focus is pest control, but I deal in like waste management and HVAC and other industries. So when you're in pest control, you think like, oh, you know, everyone shares and everyone gives, and pest control is a great industry. We hear that constantly. I hear that in every industry. So if you spend time, like if you go to like waste management conferences and spend time with these guys, they say the same thing. Oh, it's such a great industry. Everyone gives and they share. So that's a phenomena of local businesses where you're not competing. Like companies that are kind of like semiconductor companies aren't talking about that. They're competing on a global market. But when you're a residential commercial service business, that's pretty common across the base. And I mainly see people get into other businesses. The biggest thing that pest control guys do when they sell, if they get into another business, they want to get into a business that's scalable. That's more scalable than pest control. Pest control goes inch by inch, you know this. I mean, sure, you can get on the doors, but even that's hard. Like, it's a slow growing business. You don't see a lot of companies on the PCT Top 100 that went from 5 million to 500 million in 5 years unless they went out and bought a lot of stuff. It's almost an impossibility to grow organically at that rate. I'll tell you what, you look at other services businesses, you look at, you know, I've seen IT staffing, I've seen all sorts of other businesses that are able to scale that rapidly. Software firms, for example. So, you know, folks look for, I think what happens is some guys get really conservative with their money and then some guys get conservative, but they want to take some VC style bets. So that's how they roll.
I know the Mex is slaving away at the offices here over your shoulder.
Yep.
And can't say enough good things about you and consider you a friend and grateful that you've opened up your home to us. And it's been a phenomenal week. That being said, we've got Christmas coming up. I want to know what's coming for 22 for Potomac and in the market.
Well, I think again, a lot of deals are rolling over. So you guys will see a ton of announcements in January, February, and March. That's number one. I see in rest of the world, you know, so we just closed a transaction in Ireland this morning. Closed an Irish transaction just a month or two ago. So, you know, right now about a third of our transactions are rest of world. So we're seeing valuations increase in pest control in the rest of world, which is an important thing we hadn't seen for a while. We're seeing that. I think Q1 and Q2 are going to be very robust in pest control unless there's some exogenous shock, and we just don't know what's going to, you know, like I always say, like China invades Taiwan or something crazy. But for the most part, I expect it to continue to be robust. I think we have this whole Fed tapering conundrum that we're going to have to deal with. We have the inflation question that I think is a big question in everyone's mind. So things could happen very quickly in 2022, but I think it will be at least probably a pretty good first quarter. You know, for Potomac, we'll have done almost 50 transactions by the end of this year.
Wow.
50. It's just, it's mind-numbing the amount of deals we'll have done in 2021. So by far our biggest year on record. And I expect, you know, based on the pipeline, I think 2022 is probably going to be very similar. So we're just going to keep selling them as, you know, as valuations stay where they are. You're down in Puerto Rico this week. We have done some Boardroom Buzz episodes, but we've mainly focused on like a lot of Potomac educational material. So really the focus for me is, I'm going to continue to do the buzz. I hopefully will start writing again. I was surprised that Tika was so impressed with the pest control M&A commentary. I didn't realize that he was a reader of the pest control M&A commentary, but he was impressed by it, so I got to get back onto that. So I'm going to do a lot more of that. But mainly my focus is down here in PR, just doing a ton of great content, educational sessions for our clients. Fortunately, this year will be all the way till 12/31, super busy, and enjoying the nice weather down here. Really.
Well, another year in the books, Boardroom Buzz.
Another year in the books, Patrick. So we're mid-season now, right? So we go basically summer to summer. We take our summer break. We've had some great people on there. I really enjoyed the discussion with Byrne on, on Straight from the Gut and on Mort Mandel's book.
Yeah.
That was great. We've got some interesting discussions coming up here in the next few weeks, so we'll see how we can manage getting those out the door. You've had a lot of questions this week come up, and you've had a lot of questions historically. Is there any that we can talk about today?
Incentive structure? I don't know if you want to jump into incentive structure.
I saw that question. Jesse sent that over, and I think it's a great question. That's a whole episode. What else?
Why? This was an interesting one that came from John.
Okay.
So why does pest control, it was seen that pest control is the only industry, I think he's looking to start a business.
Yeah.
Pest control is the only industry in which you started just to sell it. Why?
I don't think that's the case at all. There's 20,000 companies and there are 100 deals a year, so I don't really think people started just to sell it.
Is it different? Is it unique? Does pest control have that stigma, or is just listening to the number of deals that get done and like, holy crap, that's a lot?
So I've been in this almost 20 years. 15 years ago, that was never really, people were selling because they were retiring, dying, getting divorced, but largely retirement. Like you run it, you sell it. I don't think there's a lot of build to sell guys out there still. Maybe on the doors, you'll see these guys that build to sell, but for the most part, it's not that type of industry.
I did think about the doors when he asked the question, so I think the other things that are on the doors, roofing, solar, alarms, those are different business models.
Yeah.
And I think when you sell those, you're just selling off an account. Like, hey, someone else is going to service it. More pest control is different. I didn't really have a good answer for him.
Yeah. I don't really see it as a kind of build to sell industry, really, even to this day. These guys are in there. You think about all your friends in the industry. These guys want to build this asset to a point in which they think if they monetize it, they've got enough to step away and do something else. So
I will say this: we cannot do this without our listeners. It's more than reviews, but actually, when you send in the questions, when you participate in the webinars, it definitely means the world to us, and it helps us, right? Then we can go and grab content and ask questions, and I love it.
Yeah, it's really listeners that have driven a lot of the content. Like a lot of the recent episodes that we've done have been listeners really sending notes in saying, get these folks. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate the suggestions. And I appreciate, the listeners have been great.
Paul, another great year. Killer deal with Black Bear. You're the man. Merry Christmas. Appreciate you.
Merry Christmas, Patrick. And, I wish everyone a very happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy whatever else you celebrate out there. Have a happy New Year. I know it feels like Christmas in July out here, but we'll be back at it. Patrick, we're going to take next week off.
That's right. So your Christmas break. You got a Christmas vacation? I know you'll be working.
Nope, working full time all the way to the end of the year. I'm staying here. We were supposed to travel, but between the variant of the COVID and everything that get done, so we'll be sticking around here this year in Puerto Rico. But special thanks to Dylan, Eric, Aaron, and the rest of the team. You guys have built a phenomenal production here. We thank our listeners. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.